Hey guys, so we are going to be starting to look at the next time period of um, American literature, which is classified as overall Romanticism. But Romanticism is kind of branched off into three primary categories within that time period. So you're going to start noticing kind of things trickle in different directions, but for the most part, they're classified under this broad term of Romanticism. And it's not related to the word romantic. It doesn't mean like lovey-dovey. Romanticism has to do with really American literature. Like, it's truly a new style, and it's classified as Romanticism, and it's truly American, and it's truly celebrating the individual and what the individual can be. And I'm going to give you guys the choice to kind of work with one of these categories. So one is Romanticism, two is Transcendentalism, and three is Dark Romanticism. So each of these are just a tiny bit different. Romanticism has to do with the changes that have been going on in history. So we start off American literature with colonialism, and we see a lot of religion involved, and we see a lot of people focused on themselves and like focusing on what's going on with their religion and where they stand in their religious settings, but very self-focused. Then we moved on to the Revolutionary era, where they're very much focused on working together as a team. They're very group-oriented to get certain things accomplished, like creating the country that we now live in, America. Then we kind of see that people get really tired of all of this really difficult, really tough, really just not boring, but very document heavy, very politically heavy literature. And they start writing stuff that's more fluffy and descriptive and soft, and they use this as a different outlet. So they're steering away from all these harsh documents and writing things that are more for entertainment, for fun, just because you can. And they are classified as the first like true American texts. Even though those other texts that we've been looking at are American texts, they're not truly American in the sense that they have their own way of being, or their own way of doing things, those how moments. So for Romanticism, that is kind of like the middle ground. It's kind of, where things started. So that was very much based on the individual. They're very focused on the self. They're very focused on self-development and nature, and somewhat religion as well, but not as intense as Puritanism. But very just much like good things and positive vibes, and essentially spanned into two kind of different directions. So Romanticism splits off into these two other directions. One is Transcendentalism, and the other is Dark Romanticism. So Transcendentalism is all about extreme positivity. So if you've ever heard the phrase, the glass is half full, not half empty, that is the Romantics. If you just think the glass is full all the time, you are a transcendentalist. You are just basically like a hippie. Essentially, transcendentals are like the writing version of a hippie. They love nature. They think humans are awesome. Romantics think that humans are pretty great, but transcendentalists think that humans are just the greatest thing since sliced bread. They are just so happy to be here and happy to be in life, and they're very optimistic, and their writing shows that. And even when they're talking about really dark issues, there's very much a lightness to it, and a sense of humor and color and life. Whereas for Dark Romanticism, they're a little pessimistic, which means they kind of see the glass as half empty, not half full. And they are kind of like, well, people are a little bit of both. People aren't fantastic, but they're not utter trash either. They're somewhere in between. So when you start looking at dark romanticism, you're going to see a lot more of these darker images that still talk about humans being kind of a balance of good and bad, but they're very much in darker images and darker text and things that are not light and bright and tree hugging. And I'm not going to give you too much more information than that, because my goal is that I really want you guys to take the lead on this one. So normally I would spend a lot of time going into each technique, each different section. I have pulled out an example text of each one that you're going to be looking at, because you guys are going to be completing a project with this. And I want you guys to take the lead, because normally I give you a lot of resources, I give you a lot of information about these different topics before we start talking about them, and I don't want to do that this time. I want to give you less information and let you take the reins and you kind of, learn about it and teach it and figure out what's important. And I have step-by-step directions. The project is going to be over the course of 4 days. If you're in person, there's a little bit more... The directions are different if you're in person versus online, but everything is on one document. So just keep your due dates in mind, like I said on the directions page. Like, you need to keep your due date in mind, because it may not be the same as somebody else. I have picked out, for Romanticism, you're going to be reading a piece by Walt Whitman. It's an excerpt from a longer book of poetry. If you pick Transcendentalism, you're going to be reading Emily Dickinson, a poem by Emily Dickinson. If you are going to read that, I highly suggest you pay attention to the dashes and hyphens and what they may be saying in the text, or how they may be developing the meaning, just as a heads up. And if you are reading a dark romantic text, you're going to be looking at Poe, Edgar Allan Poe. And I have, I want to say a poem by him pulled out for that one as well. I believe it's called Alone. But a short poem that you'll be able to manage with that particular text. So I pulled out the text already, and you'll just have to follow the directions for each day. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to help. Keep in mind that for this text, or excuse me, this project, I'm not only asking you to tell me about the movement that it's associated with, but I'm also asking you to tell me about the text and break it down in a way we would normally do in class. On top of that, I am asking you guys to do research. And when you research, you need to go ahead and tell me where you're getting your information. So I believe I asked for, let me double check before I say this, 3 sources, yes. So I asked you to find your information using 3 different sources. So you need to do what's called a works cited page. No matter what presentation method you provide, there should be something written, and you should present that with a works cited page. If you're not sure how to create a works cited page, I do have a link in the directions that you should be able to go to the Purdue OWL website. It's the Purdue Online Writing Lab. It's a university maintained online writing lab. It helps you cite. It helps you use different kind of writing methods or structure methods for your writing. You're going to look under the tab that says MLA formatting. It's going to bring you a section. You're going to look for citations or works cited page. And you're going to look for electronic sources. And under there, you're going to be able to find where it says cite a page on a site, on a website. And you're going to use that as a template, and you're going to use that as a guide to help you create your own 3 citations. And I would like you guys to put in-text citations as well, which is whenever you quote something or you use information from somebody that is not you. You're going to go ahead and put the author's last name in parentheses at the end of the section. And you should be good. As long as you put the author's last name, we're good for now. But just let me know who's saying the information you're providing and where you're getting it from. Please follow the guide pretty closely. If you are going to use any of like the online helpful citation makers like Citation Machine or EasyBib, I'm not saying don't use them, but I'm saying you need to make sure that you double check them, because 9 times out of 10 they are not done properly, and you will lose points for not doing them properly. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to help. But if you don't ask me any questions, there's nothing I can do. I don't know that you're struggling, so you need to let me know if there's a problem so I can help. And that should be it for now. I just wanted to kind of give you guys a heads up on what to expect over this project, what's the goal, how we're going to be, working things out. If you are in person, you will be presenting this project to your classmates. If you are online, you're going to post this presentation, and you're going to respond to some classmates. So keep that in mind as you're creating your presentations and you're putting your information together, that it needs to be readable or presentable based on which method is expected of you. Again, please ask questions. Let me know if there's any problems. I'm here to help. I don't get a lot of questions, guys, so I'm assuming everybody's good to go. Please be sure that you're watching these videos, because I do give you a lot of extra advice and information in these videos, and they're meant to be a large portion of the teaching that I can't do with you since you're not here. It's not just about reading text and doing a bunch of activities. Like, you need to be watching the videos as well to help guide you through those processes. And again, I know I sound like a broken record, but please let me know if there's any questions. I'd be more than happy to help. Have a great day, guys. Be good.